All right, you guys, let's go ahead and finish up the show here. Sorry about the streaming. I think something was going on with YouTube. And so we'll finish up the show today with the headlines that I wanted to talk to you about. And here we are ramping up into flu season. Now, here's what they have to say. This is Fortune, and they said the U.S. is officially in a flu epidemic, federal health officials say, preparing to deploy troops and ventilators if necessary. Now, what's this all about? Well, let's read this. The U.S. has crossed the epidemic threshold when it comes to flu, federal health officials said Friday. Now, make no mistake, this will segue into VIDCO 19. This is just the beginnings of this, ramping this up, and we'll go probably another season. I don't know if it'll be as bad as it was 2 years ago, but this is the plan. They've got troops and FEMA personnel ready to supply ventilators if needed in response to a nationwide surge of respiratory illnesses that includes RSV and VIDCO. U.S. flu hospitalizations are higher now than they've been at this point in every other flu season since 2010. So things are ramping up. Now, of course, if they're going to drag this out, they also need to drag out the flu chief, right, which is Fauci. Here he is here, another Fortune article. U.S. is at a crossroads as VIDCO kills 2,600 a week and new Omicron variants bloom with winter coming soon. This was the 4th of November, and he's saying that, hey, we're at a crossroads. While the situation is certainly different from last winter, when Omicron dominated all other variants, a new variant soup of Omicron sublineages like XBB, BQ1, and BQ1.1 are gaining ground across the country, wiping out key tools used to protect immune-compromised people. Yeah, there's a lot more immune-compromised people out there, aren't there? We're really at a point that may be a crossroads here as we're entering into the cooler months, starting to see the emergence of sublineage variants of Omicron. For months, Fauci has been warning that a new, more immune-evasive variant would emerge over the winter. Okay, so Prophet Fauci is saying that we need to get our boosters, our smack the nations, and everything else. So, it's starting back up. It's good to prepare yourself for all this and be prepared. That's what I always tell you guys. Now, since we got kicked off last time, let's see how the stream's going so far, and we'll continue on with the show. Is that better, you guys? Are we having better luck with the stream here? Let's take a look. I think we probably are, because I'm not seeing any flashing lights at me, and it looks like we got solid green here, so I think we're good now. All right, let's keep going here, because there's more. Now, let's get an update on Elon Musk. Now, for those of you that don't know, this is a controlled demolition of social media. This is what these people are after. Now, I've got some pretty unique perspectives about what's going on in social media. Almost nobody shares my views on what they're doing. But as a YouTube content creator and truther, I've seen it all. I've been around for 10 years and I've seen what these people do and what they try to do. And every day I get people encouraging me to go to other platforms. But here's what I tell them. I'm like, you guys don't understand. Been around forever. I've seen platforms come and go. And every single time there was some drama behind the platform where everyone's passwords were leaked, or it was a big nothing sandwich, so they sent everyone over there and then nobody went over there. And you would think after 10 years, one single platform would have been successful in countering censorship. So what that's led me to believe, and for other reasons as well, these platforms are honey traps. It's to corral everybody off of these platforms that they want to basically throttle with all kinds of nothing content and they want you on the other platform so they can isolate and identify. And I will go as much as to say that these other alt platforms are actually CIA or run by governments to monitor people. And this is why they overrun those platforms with all kinds of hate speech. And it's not coming from you guys. It's almost seeded into these platforms so that one day they can point the finger and say, see, look, that's where this came from, or that's where that came from. Because it's not normal. There aren't a bunch of people out there that just hate that much and say all kinds of weird stuff and are racist. There just aren't that many people out there that feel that way. It's been artificially ramped up on those sites intentionally so that the finger can be pointed. Now, I don't know how it's happening. They're bots, algorithms. Sometimes you take a really close look at some of these channels or some of these hate speech outlets. There's really no face behind it. It's just, it seems artificial. And that's done intentionally so that they can paint us all with a broad brush. This is why I never went on those other sites. Now, another red flag for me on the alt sites is that they're all crypto based. Well, the federal government is in the process of coming after crypto, hijacking it and turning it into our world currency. That's what they're working on right now. And they've got some smoke and mirrors. They're going to pretend like they're in the courts and battling it. And there'll be some wins on the other side and some wins on the government side. But by the end of it, you will have to pay taxes on all your crypto. And it'll be really easy for them to find you in the blockchain, which was supposed to be completely private, but it apparently isn't, because the exchanges are giving up people's information left and right. And then they'll be able to come back with the IRS and confiscate all your property that you bought with your crypto when they decide to take you down. And that's what this is all about. Nobody has come up with a copycat of YouTube yet. Now, why does YouTube want people off of their platform and onto these other platforms? Well, it's a business decision. They basically want to maintain YouTube as a big nothing sandwich of content, wasting people's time, keeping them asleep. They're spending endless amounts of money trying to develop these algorithms to squash and erase channels like mine. So they don't want to do that anymore. They don't want to spend all that money on these algorithms to try to weed out everybody. So what do? The government makes an alt platform, secretly runs it, has all the people come over there, then they monitor you and take you down. And until one of us makes one of these platforms, which I would trust, until one of us does it, not some rich millionaire, then I'll always be skeptical of the alt platforms. Now, I do have ODYSEE, and it does duplicate my channel. All the videos on this channel are copied onto ODYSEE. And so ODYSEE provides a service that I like, even though ODYSEE has crypto on it. I don't use their crypto. They don't give you anything anyways, really. It's a few cents here and there. So understand that this is why I don't go to the alt platforms. Because, you know, there's a, what do you call it? A psyop afoot to shame people like me who stay on YouTube. Oh, they're continuing. He's just continuing to make YouTube rich. He's not standing up for censorship. Well, here's the thing. The little few pennies that YouTube gets off of my channel each year is just pennies in the bucket compared to the fight that we've given back to them in terms of exposing them and all of the misinformation out there, exposing the right-left paradigm, and helping millions of people to wake up. It's a drop in the bucket. So they can have their few $1,000s a year in ad revenue that they get off my channel, because I think we've done a lot more damage. And that's the way you have to start looking at life, because we all have to live here, don't we, in this system. But it's what you do with it. It's how good of a steward you are with what you're given. Do you go all in with the enemy and basically, you know, make them richer and all this through other things that you're doing? Or do they get a few dollars and some tax dollars from you, but you're really taking the fight to them every single day? And those are the choices that each of us have to make personally. And you go through different stages in your life where you're able to make those choices. And sometimes you won't be able to make those choices. But when the opportunity presents itself, you have to be able to think through it and figure out, are you doing the right thing? Are you moving towards the kingdom or away from the kingdom? Now, we're going to read what's going on with Elon Musk, because that's how this whole conversation started. What's going on over there? This guy is one big smoke and mirror factory. 1 minute he's in a devil costume for Halloween. The next minute he's looking like an angel to some people. Oh, he bought Twitter. He's going to fix Twitter. No, he hasn't. We're going to read through this article very carefully. You're going to see he hasn't even changed their censorship policy yet. And he seems to be kowtowing already to the advertisers who are dropping like flies because it's chaos on Twitter right now. Now let me check in with you guys and we'll get into this story and read this. Okay, it looks like our streaming is fixed. Let's keep going with this. Now, let's break this down between the headlines. After slashing headcount, sharing Paul Pelosi's conspiracy theories, Elon Musk blames activist groups for a massive revenue drop. Now, he's right about that part of it. That's the government trying to take him down. So they have bots, and they send them over and make it look like a free-for-all on Twitter. Because that's what it's looking like right now. People saying racial slurs. All of that is synthetic. It's not real. Okay? It's not just because Elon Musk bought Twitter that now all the activist groups are going to go on there. Or not activist groups, but all the racists are going to go on there now just because Elon Musk bought Twitter. But that's what they want people to believe is happening. So these advertisers who never used to care about who they advertised on, right? Playboy's getting the same advertisers as an ice cream company. Advertisers never cared before. Really. Unless it was an extreme situation. But a couple people just talking about daily headlines and things like that, now they make it sound like, oh, you got to be careful what you say. Because advertisers don't want to advertise their ads on there. Advertisers are about money. They'll put their ads on whoever has the most views and who's getting the word out. Plain and simple. Very few of them pick and choose who they're going to advertise with. So, massive drop in revenue going on at Twitter due to activist groups pressuring advertisers. Even though nothing has changed with content moderation, this is his words, even though nothing has changed with content moderation, and we did everything we could to appease the activists. Talk about doublespeak. So, now he's making this a right-left paradigm. Oh, they're trying to destroy free speech in America. Well, I think that Musk is actually part of destroying that. He knew this was all going to happen. He bought it so that it could be taken down. Well, what better way to self-destruct social media than to run this scenario? The outburst comes on the same day that Twitter is cutting its workforce nearly in half under Musk rule. And as advertising firms have become wary of Twitter of late, in part because of the dramatic rise in hate speech and conspiracy theories appearing in people's timelines. They found 1,200 tweets and retweets with anti-Semitic memes. Oh, brother. Oh, the people were saying the N-word. I mean, if you don't realize that this isn't real, I don't know what to tell you. The N-word jumped 500%. We know because we counted every single one. Wow. And Twitter blamed the rise on a trolling campaign, saying more than 50,000 tweets repeatedly using a particular slur had come from just 300 accounts. So that is true. This part of it's true. That's the government trying to make Twitter look like it's been overrun by extremists, okay? Now, understand that this is the same exact playbook that they're going to use on the alt sites, you guys. The FBI can shut down websites when they want. There are some websites you probably used to go to. You go to the website and it says, this domain has been confiscated by the FBI. There's a big seal up. It happens all the time. Do you think that they can't shut down BitChute or Rumble if they wanted to? Of course they can. They're just waiting for the right time to do it. They're waiting till they get everybody off of YouTube. Once they got everybody over there and they've washed YouTube clean and everybody's gone on these alt platforms, then they'll pull the plug. And then where are those people going to go? They're never going to be able to regain all those subscribers again. So I encourage my fellow YouTubers to stay on YouTube as long as you possibly can, and just be careful how you say things. Word it differently. That's how we've been able to stay on for so long. Now, they're saying Twitter's losing all these clients. Walmart, American Express, Coca-Cola, Fitbit, GoPro, Johnson & Johnson. Okay, good. We don't want those sponsors anyway. How about survival gear? How about tents? How about Coleman becomes a sponsor? How about you guys? There's plenty of things that people that have minds like ours would buy in terms of ads that fit our lifestyle, isn't it? Real estate companies that sell like land or something could advertise here. You think that they're not chomping at the bit going, oh, wow, since people aren't getting burdened down with Walmart ads and American Express ads and Coca-Cola ads, we can go in now and sell to the truthers. You think that there aren't a million companies that would want to do that right now? Now, I have my feelings about solar, but a lot of people believe in solar, wind power, alternative forms of energy. Those companies would be breaking down the door to get onto Twitter now, knowing that ad costs are probably lower than they've ever been in this current situation. So it's not all dire straits for Twitter, even though they're trying to make it seem like it is, aren't they? They're trying to make it seem like it is. And these companies aren't stupid. They know a lot of people still go to Twitter. Are they really pulling their ads? They're not going to give up ground to all these other companies to become billionaires, are they? And if they are, they need to go find another ad person. If they're really going to whine and cry and say, oh, there's hate speech here, we're going to pull our ads, then that means they're too big to fail. So it doesn't matter anyway, does it? Go ahead and run your ads on all the other liberal websites and have your way, because it doesn't matter anyway, because everybody knows who Walmart is and American Express. Why do you even need to advertise anymore? Anyway, I'll stop my rant now. So, Musk posts, Musk was running his mouth about this Pelosi thing, and they're saying that was misinformation, blah, blah, blah. So there's all this drama. I guess he also posted an image of himself with Trump and somebody else, and they were like the Three Musketeers with swords pointed out. Now he's pulled down some of those posts, but it's just crazy. It's just chaos over there, isn't it? Just straight chaos. It says here, in mid-October he posted, then deleted a meme of himself and Kanye West after the rapper said he would buy Parler, a right-wing social media platform. He also posted a meme of himself, Ye, and former President Donald Trump portrayed as the Three Musketeers, each in charge of a social media platform. I mean, this is just a circus. Let's see what some of the comments say down here. Of course, they're going to roast Musk, who unfortunately has become the face of truth, right? And so we all get painted with this broad brush. Oh, you must like Elon Musk. It's the first thing I hear out of people's mouth when they understand what my views are. I'm like, no, he's a poser. He's not real. Sounds like the emperor has no clothes and is about to be exposed. All of his previous adventures have relied heavily on tens of billions. I mean, who writes this stuff? The buildings fell down due to intense heat, and which melted the steel, causing it to fall at its own footprint. 5 minutes after they fell down. Really? Okay, so dogpile on Yahoo comment section. Anyway, you guys know what's going on here. Look at this. They've even got crypto in the Yahoo Finance headlines here. Are you kidding me? This should be a big red flag for you guys about crypto and Bitcoin and all this stuff. It's a honey trap. So I hope people wake up to all this. Now, Biden chimes in. Look at this. Musk bought an outfit that spews lies. Oh, thanks for your comments, Biden. That's deep. An outfit that spews lies. It's an outfit. President Bo Jiven took shots at Twitter and new owner Friday night, calling out Elon Musk by name. Surprised he remembered his name. And the social media company has an outfit that spews lies all across the world. Yeah, it did spew lies for many years and hid, accounts that could have made a difference. It's funny because Twitter was going nuts with all the Q stuff, wasn't it? And then, here I was I didn't have a lot of followers on Twitter, probably like 5,000. You put out a tweet and like 2 people thumbs it up. In other words, Twitter was actually helping to throttle Q during that whole drama we went through over the past 5 or 6 years with Q. That's how all this happened. That's how the crapper hole happened. People were tweeting stuff out, saying where to meet. Facebook was in on it too. You guys, things are not what they seem. They're not what they seem. All of it was a setup to honey trap as many people as they could and take them off the street. So, this is what's going on. We've got a really deep comment by the president about what's going on with Twitter. Now, let's switch gears here. I want to talk about Westworld. Now, this Westworld is a series that we had covered. We did all 5 seasons of Westworld. 4 seasons, I think it was. And now, mysteriously, they've decided to pull Westworld. Now, this is pretty huge because this show was a big show. It won awards and things. Now, this last season was really lame. I didn't really enjoy last season at all. It was like a filler season. You could tell that they were starting to wind things down. But Westworld has now been canceled. There will be no 5th season. This is a Jonathan Nolan series who's done a lot of other successful TV series. So this is a big deal. Now, what I think happened here is that basically they shared too much information. Remember we decoded that episode of the Hoover Dam and the transformer blew up before it actually happened? And we decoded that. I'm like, look at this, you guys. They filmed this long before the actual transformer blew up at Hoover Dam. They were talking about dark waters, and then Hoover Dam went empty. Deadpool, remember that? The whole Deadpool. Well, they already knew all this was going to happen, which suggests that it's all orchestrated. And so they really disclosed a lot of stuff through Westworld. Mixing steel and watery clay, mixing humans with the machine. Now, there's nothing worse in my eyes than corruption. And we're going to get into this corruption on an upcoming show called The Batman, in which we decode the new Batman movie. And in that movie, there is a concept called renewal, urban renewal. And the Riddler, who basically was raised inside of an orphanage, gets revenge on Bruce Wayne because of the sins of his father. And his father came up with this corrupt Ponzi scheme called urban renewal, in which all this money was being laundered, people were being paid bribes. It had nothing to do with urban renewal. It was a big money laundering scheme, which much of these charities are. You know, don't get all warm and fuzzy when you see a celebrity pushing, save the dogs or save the cats. It's a money laundering scheme. This is how these people launder their money. They donate it, but they're really not donating it. Does that make sense? It's money. It's the biggest secret in America. Money laundering. And all the rich people do it. This is why they don't pay taxes. They say they donate it, but they really don't. This is why you see really evil people looking like they're doing really, really cool things. Do you know how much money Epstein donated? Do you know how much money, Bill Gates donates every year? Quote unquote donates. So, many of these projects and things are schemes. Here's one such scheme that I suspect 2,600 apartments for mentally ill and homeless people sit vacant. So they made all these apartments and nobody gets them in New York. Very few people have been placed in these housing units. Now, I don't understand why you would place a mentally ill person into a housing unit. Like, they need to probably be somewhere else. Or in a hospital of some kind with housing units in it, but not just out on the street. Because the problem is they don't want to be in a house. They want to be homeless anyway. So what are the odds they're even going to stay in the house? And then you're not caring for these people. And when I say care for them, I don't mean shoving a bunch of drugs at them, but maybe give them some kind of sponsor or an advocate, someone that checks in on them every day. How are you doing? Are you going to be okay? Give them some love, some actual real love. Okay, I'll be back tomorrow. Will you be here tomorrow? Yes, I will. Bring them a cupcake. I don't know. There's ways to help these people, and the ways that we're doing it is not working. You don't throw drugs at all these people. Sometimes they just need to know that somebody cares. Somebody's checking in on them. Many of these people don't have families, or their families don't talk to them anymore because they're crazy. So, these are just some of my ideas of how I would run our country if this was the case. There are a lot of people out there, good Christian people, who would be one of these advocates. You could hire them. They can make a little bit of money. Look, this is what we want you to do. We want you to go check in on this mentally ill person. Find out where they're at. Maintain contact with the person. Take a picture with them so we know that you did it. Make sure they have food. And then you go on about your business. Wait a minute. That's what Jesus told us to do, wasn't it? Maybe we should start listening to Jesus and how he handled helping people. So, what else is going on in the world? Well, of course, we got into this a little bit before we started having streaming problems on the show early this morning. Aaron Carter dies at 34. Now this person, wow, he died on the 5th of November. Now somebody said he died in a bathtub. I don't know that. But that would fall in line with a dark water baptism, wouldn't it? There he is with the Illuminati, putting his finger over the mouth. Of course, he's got lots of tattoos. Very troubled individual, dealt with body dysmorphic disorders, anorexia, drugs from a very early age. Of course, his bigger brother was in the Backstreet Boys, and this is how Aaron Carter became famous. So he was at his home in Lancaster, and they found him dead. There he was. That's how it all started. Through gradualism, they used Pied Pipers to lead us all down the path as we watch these people self-destruct and turn into something completely different than they started out. Look at this little face. We have to pray for these people. Some of them are born into these families that are in Hollywood. Fame is not a good thing, you guys. So, that's what happened to Aaron Carter. Gone. Just like that. What else do we have here? Well, I got a couple surprises for you guys today. Here's one. Now, we talked about, I often tell you guys, sometimes you guys get on me, you're like, Casey, we need commercial fishing because then we can have fish in the store. Commercial fishing is not bad. Well, let me explain something to you. Half, literally, this article says half of all commercially fished fish ends up in the garbage. So, somebody gives you $10, two $5 bills, and basically take one of those $5 bills and light it on fire. 2015 study published in Global Environmental Change estimates that every year almost half the seafood supply in the United States is lost, amounting to nearly 500 million pounds of protein waste. Globally, we lose 110 billion pounds. What happens to it? Well, it gets wasted. If you don't buy the fish right away, it goes bad. Most people don't eat frozen fish, and even that has a shelf life, very short shelf life. It's the supply chain. Supply chains are very inefficient. We were never meant to get our food in a supply chain. We were meant to harvest our food directly from nature. Now, of course, we live in a developed world, where some supply chain is a good thing, but with other things like fish, maybe supply chain isn't such a great idea. Or maybe supply chain should be limited by distance. For instance, if you live in a place where there's fish, maybe you can get local fish. Think about this for a second. What if deer meat was now harvested and put in stores? There's a reason why they don't do that, isn't there? It's because very, very quickly you would look around and not see any more deer around. If you did it commercially, this is why it's limited to just people, individuals harvesting deer. And we still have very healthy and large deer populations because of that. So there are certain animals that you shouldn't have commercial access to when it comes to harvesting them out of nature. That's my opinion anyway. And if you want to go catch a fish, go catch one. And there shouldn't be hardly any rules on that because there will be a lot more fish to catch. And if you are jonesing for some fresh fish, plan a trip. Go to a place where there are fish. I don't know. These are just ideas, you guys. I'm just talking out loud. Now, we're going to switch gears again here because the other day we covered Alien. And remember he broke this jar open? And inside was the tip of the spear, the pathogen that caused man's DNA to mix with the alien, causing all these abominations. Remember that? And he pulled these glass vases out of a clay vase. The clay vessel, that's you and me. Well, I looked into this object right here. And it actually has a name. These are called ampules. And they are specific to medicine. Used by pharmaceutical companies. I was like, whoa. Now what do these do? Ampules hold solids or liquids. They're usually made of glass. And these ampules go all the way back to ancient times. Most commonly used to contain pharmaceuticals and chemicals that must be protected from air and contaminants. They're hermetically sealed by melting the thin top with an open flame, and usually opened by snapping off the neck. Now, many of you will remember the scene in Alien Covenant where he does snap the neck off of one of these ampules. But I didn't know exactly what it was called, but now we know. Some of them have inert gas inside of them. And this is just crazy. Glass ampules are more expensive than bottles and other containers, but there are many situations where there's superior imperviousness to gases and liquids, and all glass interior surface are worth the extra cost. Now, these are sold in ampules are things like injectable pharmaceuticals, air-sensitive reagents. Now, if I'm not mistaken, one of the vaccines actually from one of the countries, I can't remember which one, is in these ampules. Should probably look it up. One of the COVID vaccines is in one of these ampules. It's unbelievable. It's right in our faces, you guys. Look, they even talk about contamination. That the glass inside these ampules ends up inside of the injectable and can cause harm to the body. So there's actual glass inside of it. Let me see if I could find that part. Oh, here we go. Contamination concerns. Glass particle contamination is of ongoing concern with patients who receive medication parenterally, such as intravenously under hospital care, at great risk of receiving glass particulates when medication is aspirated. A 2006 study of 180 ampules found 19,000 of them had glass particles inside of it, even when they were filtered. So glass particle contamination inside of these ampules. Wow. They even mentioned RFID tags for animals and identification. Low frequency. Now, the weird thing is the word amp is inside ampules, suggesting energy transfer. An amp. So, weird times, you guys. Now, we're going to finish up the show with this really cool post in the Enterthestars Facebook group by Kathleen Wynn. Thanks, Kathleen, for sending us this post. And look at this. This is what houses used to cost in 1955. Mortgage payments used to be $47 a month. You get a whole 2-bedroom house for $7,450. Now, I thought about this for a minute, and I'm like, what's this all about? I did the math on this, and I looked, and I found out back in 1955, the average income for a family was right about $4,500 a year. Can you imagine that? $4,500 in a year is what people made in 1955. So, $4,500 is about half of $8,000 for a house, right? So now let's fast forward to 2022 and think about how much most people make. Now, most people I know are fluctuating somewhere in between $40,000 a year to $60,000 a year. That's a solid lower middle class family. Okay, $40,000 to $60,000 a year. And so, if you were to double that income, could that buy you a house? In other words, could $120,000 a year buy you a house these days? And the answer is no. You need about 3 times to 4 times your income to be able to afford a house. So, back then, only double your income could afford a house. But now it's 4 times. So what does that suggest? That suggests that the housing, what are the words I'm looking for? The ratio, that's not the word either. The proportion of house that you can buy now compared to 1955 has doubled. The percentage of your income that goes to your housing and your mortgage payment has doubled. Now imagine that. So let's do a simple formula here. Back in 1955, let's say your rent was $45, well, let's do $400 a month. Now it's $800 a month, but you haven't made any more money. Now, why aren't people screaming from the rooftops? We're supposed to live in the most wealthiest nation in the world. Our housing costs should have gone down over the decades, shouldn't they? The percentage we spend on housing of our income should have gone down. But instead, it's gone up. It's doubled. In other words, we're getting robbed. We are getting robbed. So, what do we do about that? Well, stop believing the lie, for one. You know, they've convinced us all now that if your house is worth more money, then you're better off. Well, that's great until you need to buy that house again, or until someone else needs to buy that house, right? So, this is the problem that we have in our country, and somebody needs to talk about it. If you want to make America great again, how about we go to the ratio of how much you're spending in your income towards housing back to 1955? That's what I'd like to see. That's what I would like to see, and that's probably what many of you would like to see as well. Let's go into the chat. Now, I've got a lot of shows scheduled, as you've seen, in the upcoming days. We have some fun shows. I found a tornado history tracker. And basically, I'm going to be in the chat, and you guys are going to tell me what state you live in, north, south, east, or west part of that state. And we're going to look up your state and see all the tornadoes that have passed near your house. Now, this is for safety concerns, because I'm sure I would want to know. In fact, that was some of the research that I did when I chose where I wanted to be. I went onto this history map. And this is called sharing information. This is called sharing knowledge. One of the main reasons why we're here is to help share knowledge, because no one else is going to tell you this stuff, you guys. Because it's a big secret. Nobody tells you anything, do they? And so here I am. I'm sitting at the property that I'm at now, and I'm renting until my cabin's done. And nobody seemed too concerned that tornadoes were heading our way. Then I went on the map and I looked and I go, oh, that's why. Because there's never been a tornado up this way. Here's the map. This is what we'll be going over in a couple days. I think that might be tomorrow's show. I can't remember. And I'm up here kind of along this northern border. And as you can see, there have been zero tornadoes come through here. Zero. So we're going to look at that. And this will help you determine where you're going to buy property one day. So I want to share that with you so you know. Now, interestingly, this Tornado Archive Data Explorer, the original website was wiped off of the internet. Now, why would that be? Well, we don't know exactly why. It just disappeared. But somebody recreated it and downloaded all that data so that we could have it. So we can make good decisions about where we want to live. You don't want to live in a place like, I know we all have faith, you guys. I get it. I have faith too, but it's one thing to have faith, and it's one thing to buy a house right in the middle of all these red lines where there have been F4 and F5 tornadoes sweeping through every few years. That's called testing God, pretty much. So I'm going to arm you guys with knowledge so that you can make good decisions going into these last days, so you know what's up. So that'll be one show. Then, of course, we're going to do The Batman. I'm going to reveal to you the true identity of Batman. For once and for all, putting all speculation to rest, they reveal it in the new Batman film. Why? Because the urban renewal king was Trump's father. Sins of the father. Yes, we will do Canada, redeemed by y'all. There's actually maps in Canada. So we'll look at Canadian tornadoes. Canados. And there's European maps in there, so we can look at those. Now, interestingly, 90% of all tornadoes happen in the tornado belt, the Midwest. Okay? And there's something weird about that. It's almost like they were created that way, is what it seems to me, because the rest of the world does not have tornadoes like we do. So that'll be a fun show. And if you are in one of the paths of these tornado alleys, there's nothing you can probably do, but maybe this was what you needed to hear to either help you make a decision about moving that you were already considering, or Maybe you were considering building a basement of some kind or some kind of shelter, and now this is what you needed to hear to do that. Take action about it. It's just simply to help you have more knowledge. That's it, you guys. My people perish for lack of knowledge. Well, we're not going to have lack of knowledge here. So, there was one huge one that went right through the middle of Florida. This was back, I think, in the 1960s. Went right through the middle of it, from coast to coast. Took out all kinds of cities and killed like 20-something people or something like that. So, things to know. All right, what else is going on in the chat here? Okay. Yeah, there's something for everything. But there are places that you can live where there's better places to live and there's worse places to live. And they know it. They know it. All right. Okay, you guys. Well, that was 2 live shows today, not by choice. We got interrupted with some problems. I'm just glad you guys are here, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Much love to everybody. Take care and be safe.